Welcome in. This is Countdown to Kickoff with Atlético Dallas here on Morning Kickaround, and we are joined for our kickoff edition of this series with Chief Commercial Officer and co-founder of Atlético Dallas, Sam Morton, as we start this journey together on the way to kicking off in 2027.
Good morning, guys. How you guys doing?
How you doing, Sam?
I mean, the musical intro. The musical intro has me jazzed. I'm ready to rock.
It's setting the tone, right? It is a countdown. I don't know that you guys have a giant clock or anything. That's what I imagine. Like in the office, there's a giant clock that's like just always applying pressure to everybody. Get something done today.
We don't have that yet.
Weird. Don't have it yet. Okay. Well, you have 14 months, as the intro just said. You've got some time. So Rob, set us up here so that we can figure out what's going on with Atlético Dallas and what's been done, maybe what they're working on, what's coming up.
Yeah, what has been the biggest thing so far? You've been very active. You've launched a brand. You've got some athletic youth club partnerships, and definitely been seeing a lot of merch being shown out there publicly. Why don't you tell us what the biggest achievements for Atlético Dallas are as we now sit in December 2025?
Yeah, I think the first and foremost, becoming Atlético Dallas on May 2nd this year was, I think a big milestone, obviously, for the club. Up until then, we were just operating under generically named USL Dallas. I mean, it was known that we were coming, but we had no name, no identity, no colors. And so on May 2nd this year, we became Atlético Dallas. And that was, to date, probably our largest accomplishment. But, since then, yes, as you mentioned, Rob, we've partnership with a youth club who we have 2,700 players playing under our badge. Started in July of this year. We've, building out the staff, sporting director, marketing, social media. So really just kind of filling the buckets and getting our pieces in place so we can get this thing to the field in March of 27.
And amongst these additions that you've added here in the early days of the club, you've had some famous faces. We've had Kyle Martino talking about Atlético Dallas before, but some famous players as well.
Yeah, we looking to partner and align ourselves with people who kind of share our mission. And, one of that is, our mission is, bringing more playable space to urban communities. That's a big mission of ours. So whether that's street courts, whether that's coaches doing training sessions, we don't know what that looks like everywhere yet. But, Kyle obviously fits that moniker pretty well with his Street FC initiatives, Golfer. And this weekend, we'll be announcing on Saturday our first street court build here in Dallas. So we're excited. Kyle's coming in. His friend and partner and golfer, Patrice Ever, will be in town as well. So we're excited to see those guys this weekend.
Yeah, so you guys have done that. Go ahead. Sorry, Rob. Were you want to talk about Patrice Ever?
Yeah, I was going to say he's a very exciting character in football. What exactly are you doing with him?
Well, they're bringing an app to the U.S. called Player, which is for lack of a better analogy, it's LinkedIn for football. And so they actually vet the players before you get into the app. So not everyone that thinks they can be a professional footballer can just hop on and get contacts. But that's the gist of it. It launched in Europe, I think, a year and a half ago, and they're bringing it to the States. And so we're gonna do a kind of a junket, and they'll bring a player app. We're doing a player, I'd say, scrimmage or a match at SMU Stadium on Sunday where they've curated a game 11 aside. So we're helping them launch this player app here in America.
All right, so I want to come back to accomplishments already done, checked off. I mean, things kind of settled, and we talked to you quite a bit about this in Albuquerque, and I know there's lots of work to be done here, and we just saw a picture of you on the field there with your co-owner, co-founder, and Kyle Martino. The finding a stadium, that's always a big thing for any club. So give us a brief history of how you ended up deciding to play and signing a deal to play at the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, I think Matt and I 2 years ago, I think our ambition was to build a stadium. I don't think it was, we wanted to build a stadium. And, through the course of working with the city of Garland, we had some plans in place. USL announces Division I. It complicates things because the stadium we're planning is less than 15,000 seats. It adds a great deal of expense. So we needed to find a place to play. And it really was a blessing in disguise, I think, when you look at it. We needed to be in Dallas. We needed to be at the heart of the city. We needed to be near downtown. So I think it worked out for the best. So when Division I launched, Cotton Bowl is really your options are limited in Dallas. It's not like there's a wealth of stadiums around that you can go play in that are grass fields and things like that. So we reached out to the city and we're fortunate enough to develop a partnership with the city of Dallas. So we will kick off in March 27 in the Cotton Bowl. As part of that agreement, also, we will take over management of MoneyGram Sports Park, Elm Fork Park, which is a 19-field soccer complex in Dallas that hosts a lot of large tournaments, Dallas Cup and things like that. So as of January 31st, Atlético Dallas will operate that park as well. So as part of our deal with the city, we got both of those assets. So we're excited to play in the Cotton Bowl. We're excited to play in downtown and bring something to, again, the city center, which is important to us.
Yeah, definitely a big piece of the pie. Your home venue where you're planting your roots will be huge for getting going once kickoff happens. Current projects, though, December 13th, you got a big event coming up.
We do, yeah. On Saturday, as I mentioned, we are hosting a block party. I would just call it it's an opportunity to celebrate soccer culture in Dallas. We're doing it on the grounds of our soon-to-be street court build. So we'll have vendors and we'll have different soccer organizations. Dallas Trinity will be there. We've got this company called Tifo Mart, which is a jersey swap and a lot of cool street culture and soccer culture. And like I said, Patrice and Kyle will take part in that, and we'll do that on Saturday, and we'll have a DJ, and then on Sunday, Player App will host their scrimmage, their 11v11 game.
I'll come back to the street court and the other things you guys have planned. I mean, the things that are in the works. I mean, people might not know, Sam, that this isn't, just like put a team together, go play at the Cotton Bowl. You guys have a wider vision, the street courts, but also places for fans to go, not just to support the team, but as soccer fans.
Yeah, we'll, not quite announced yet, but I'll go ahead and announce it. We're almost a couple days away, but the street court bill will sit adjacent to a supporter bar where we've done a licensing agreement with an operator. And this is right outside the grounds of Fair Park. So you can walk from the soon to be bar. It's not built yet. We got to build it out, but you can walk from there right into it's about an 8-minute walk to the Cotton Bowl. And we'll also have our corporate headquarters and a retail shop there in the same kind of development. So that's a dynamic. That's the renderings of kind of what the bar will look like. Again, it'd be a big outdoor patio, an 80 by 40 street court, and bar service, food service, and right next door. And again, this is just about an 8-minute walk from the Cotton Bowl.
8-minute walk from the game, a location to not only play street soccer, but also have a food and entertainment. What's the timeline on this? This looks incredible.
The patio part will be open, by World Cup. We're pushing to get the patio done, and we'll probably do some temporary service. The bar will not be ready to go by World Cup, but fall of next year, I think we'll all be wrapped in a bow. But for us, it's about, the street courts. This is just the first one. I mean, Dallas County is 13, 14 cities. And our goal is to have an activation in every one of them. So, we want, whether it's a street court, whether we're hosting camps, whether we're bringing players out to the city for that, whether we're supporting the high school team, whatever that looks like, it's not going to look the same in each city because maybe the cities have different needs. But, our goal would be, as Jason said, is we're trying to create, this ecosystem of so when you go anywhere really in the county, you can't help but see Atlético Dallas. And that's, we're really just trying to be more grassroots and kind of build this thing from the bottom up.
You also have, in terms of the stuff that you're doing now, and obviously, as you said, you're giving us a little bit of a early release on some of this news.
You're welcome.
So, appreciate it, Sam. Thank you very much. It's why we love working with you, and obviously, what Morning Kickaround is all about, to give this insight. I know that you guys have put out merchandise, or you got gear with your logo on it, and you're obviously, as you said, kind of trying to paint the walls all over the place. What does it look like to get your apparel partner done so that you can make these official shirts, get ready for 2027, really kind of blow the doors off of that?
Yeah, when we launched the brand and we sat in the room, and we all thought, we'll create some t-shirts, or we'll do a hat or whatever. And then we thought, what do people want with soccer? I mean, people want jerseys, more than anything. I mean, they want hats and shirts and cool sweatshirts, and proud to be wearing one this morning. But for the most part, they want a jersey. So we decided to make a launch edition, commemorative jersey. So we did one in black, we did one in topaz, our two colors, black crude and Texas topaz. And then about a month ago, we came out with a third one, which is silver ore. And those are our three primary colors. We've sold 1,500, 1,800 jerseys this year alone. And we've sold, I think, 6,500 items out of our store. And our apparel partner, look, I've got a whole stack of apparel partnerships here. We've got it narrowed down to a couple, and we'll be ready to make that announcement probably here in the next 30, 45 days. And then we'll get to work on that first season kit, which I think will be really anticipated. And we'll hope to release that and announce that first season kit in probably October, November next year.
Now, again, this is all about finding out how the sausage gets made and whether there are NDAs and all kind of things involved, Sam.
Yeah.
What does that look like? I mean, what is the actual shopping process? I mean, are you taking proposals from companies? Are you, and again, finding the right designer and all those things? I mean, as much as you can tell us, I'd love to know.
Yeah, I think for us, affordability has always been at the forefront of anything that we're doing. We want to bring something to the market that people can afford. It doesn't mean that it's cheap. It just means that, I think American sports, not just soccer, but anywhere you go, it's family of four is $300, $400, $500. You go buy tickets, you get drinks, food, and jersey. I mean, it's expensive. And we want to bring a level of and we're fortunate to play in a big stadium too that got plenty of room, so we can make some decisions on ticketing and pricing. But on the apparel side, first and foremost, we needed to be able to create an authentic jersey for our fans that wasn't $140, $150 retail. We needed to be able to this first kit that we released this year was $89. My hope is to keep when we come to market with our apparel partner, to keep the authentic jersey at or around, hopefully a little less than $100. And for us to do that, we've got to align with the right partner that shares our vision, that sees that we can sell a lot of jerseys. Obviously, that's what they're trying to do. They want us to buy a lot of jerseys so we can sell a lot of jerseys. But we've got to also have a decent enough margin to bring a $90 or $95 jersey to market and still be able to, make it worth our while. We got to keep the lights on. At the end of the day, we're trying to, build a business, and we are trying to be thoughtful about the community and our fans, and we're making decisions that are very fan first. But I do, does it make sense for me to buy a $70 jersey from an apparel partner and flip it for $85? And I'm making $15 a jersey. That part doesn't make sense. So that was really the first kind of wave of things. We eliminated some people from that. And then, now we're down to 4 or 5 different ones. And I think we're at a point now, do we take on a challenger brand? Do we take a more well-known brand? And those are things that we're discussing. And I think there's benefits to both. But I think that we'll look to make a decision here pretty shortly.
That's a thing that you have to think about in terms of your club's identity and kind of how you're setting up what the image of the club looks like.
Absolutely. I think that our identity is we're a challenger brand, right? We're the, we're up against, we're the first club, to come into an active MLS market. So, we're certainly the, new kid on the block. So we're trying to challenge things here in town. So, that's a great question, Jason. Do we want to create the story where we're taking on challenger brands, or do we want to, go somewhere where it's maybe a little safer and we got a little more history and more skins on the wall? Those are all things that we're thinking about.
So we're catching up with Sam Morton, CEO and co-founder of Atlético Dallas, and we're in the countdown to kick off the very first episode, as we're about 14 months away from the first kick of the ball in the USL Championship, and a lot going on. You talked about the founding partners, the kind of what you were looking to do, the merch, and even some street initiatives and and some youth stuff, and a whole lot going on with Atlético Dallas. And part of this series is we're going to get into the nitty gritty and get firsthand accounts as all these things come to fruition over the next year or so plus. You said that you have the event happening this week, but what can you say, or what are your next up things on your to-do list?
Yeah. Training site. We've players have to train somewhere. They've got to eat somewhere. They got to take showers. They got to get training. They got to get taped up. And so we've got to settle on, a training site. We've got some options right now, that are being vetted, I guess you could say. And so we're trying to make decisions on where that should be. And that's really the main thing, especially for Matt, who's dealing more with the facilities and operations. Training sites definitely critical, right? We've got to be able to recruit players, and they got to be able to train. Head coach, obviously we want to get a head coach in here probably in the next, 60 days, 90 days. Give them ample time to ramp up, scout, find their players. I think so. Coaching, training site are next. Apparel partnership announcement will be thrown in there, as we just talked about. Ticketing, we got to build out our ticketing department. We decided in August, I think, or July of this year, to just put ticket deposits on our online shop. Just thinking, well, let's just put $27 deposit up there and see what happens. So we have no ticketing people at the current moment, but we have about 1,000 people buy about 2,000 deposits, a little over 2,000 deposits already, 14 months ahead of where we're due to play. But and that's with no outreach. That's just pretty much all inbound. So we got to get a ticketing partner, a ticketing lead. I've interviewed, and we're ready to probably make an offer on that here shortly. Community outreach, community relations. We just put an offer out for our community relations manager, someone who can come in and look at the things that we're trying to do. Our foundation, we need to finalize what we're going to call it. We need to file the paperwork. There's some benefits to the club having a foundation, and for the community to have the foundation. And so, those are all things that are next. I mean, that's probably about 30% of what's next, but those are kind of the immediate needs right now.
So you've got the 1841 club. That's the hardcore that are all in from the beginning, buying their tickets, getting involved. Obviously you have plans for the 2026 World Cup as you stand up some of these facilities and various things. What do you do to engage those fans over the course of a calendar year when you probably won't even have players training yet?
Yeah. My background is radio. I spent 25 years almost in radio stations. I ran sales groups. I ran stations. I ran entire markets. I've looked at this really in a fashion of like how old school radio used to be. We've got a wrapped vehicle. We have the Wolf Wagon that we call it. It's matte black. It's got our logo on it. We've got a full promotional setup, multiple ones. We've hired a street team. This year, since May, since we launched our brand, we did 87 events since May 2nd. Now, we didn't produce those events. We showed up at a 5K, or we showed up at a neighborhood market or whatever. But our approach is we need to be out every weekend. I think last weekend we were at four different places throughout the weekend. We've got Sammy, who is our marketing manager, who is managing all that street team. She's also managing our merchandise and our online shop. But yeah, we got to be grassroots. And Matt and I try to make as many of those events as we can, even we're just there to shake a hand for 5 or 10 minutes. It's really important to us to be in the community and meeting people in the community. And so we've really taken that kind of, let's just get in the van and pile in and go meet some people. And that's been our approach, and that's what we're going to continue to do. We'll produce some more events next year. Like we'll have some more 1841 events next year. We'll have more fan rallies. We're talking about designing a street soccer tournament that's hosted in this big warehouse. It's got a cool floor. We're kicking around whether that's a whole culture thing. Do we make it street soccer and skateboarding and music and so we'll produce a couple of events next year, but again, at the end of the day, it's just like we got to be out and about, and we got to meet people one by one.
With all these initiatives and 87 events already attended is pretty incredible. That's ingratiating yourself and ingraining yourself into the community right off the bat. It sounds like you're obviously still growing it out, but out of curiosity, what do you foresee? Like, what is the staff size number you see when you're up at full force?
Yeah, we're building out some office space that will host between 38 and call it 45 total. That's not counting sporting. So, the front office somewhere in the 38 to 42 range probably is the right number. Could it be bigger? Sure. You're looking at 3 or 4 people in sponsorships, 4 or 5 people in ticketing. The marketing department is really the largest department when you roll up community, under marketing, social media. So yeah, I would say 38 to 42, somewhere in that vicinity.
And how does that compare to what you've seen, around USL, around American soccer at that level?
I think that's average, maybe a little above average. It's very small in relation to major sports, basketball, football. We have our VP of sponsorships came from the Dallas Mavericks, Ryan Mackey. He had 24 people in his partnerships department, so that was just one aspect of the business. So we'll be dwarfed by, those guys, but by USL standards, probably a little above average, I'd say. But, you look at New Mexico, and that's where I met you guys last, but, they probably run 30 to 35 people, somewhere in that range. So I don't know that we're, egregiously high or anything, but.
The other thing I would ask, Sam, with again, apologies if this is crossing any lines, and you're obviously free to hold your tongue if you so choose, but I think numbers and money and math and sort of what it takes to get this underway. I mean, again, you're not going to be kicking a ball for another 14 months. You won't be selling tickets, actively driving ticket revenue. I know you'll take deposits and those kind of things, and they're coming, but that's not the money that makes this go. So how does that work?
Yeah, we raised money knowing that we were going to lose money really through potentially the whole first season. So the goal for Matt and I was to raise enough money, to make sure we could operate, through these years. And you're right, we're just burning cash, and our revenue this year, I think we're going to get close to, with merchandise and deposits, maybe 300,000-400,000, but we're going to spend way, way more than that this year. I talk about those 87 events and the vans and the street team and the part-timers. That alone, is cost money. But, I think we made the decision, and the investors that are in understood the decision, that this is a longer play. And for us to do it right and to come to market, and our lead time was probably a year past what you've seen other clubs do. Maybe some rush into it a little bit more, and they do a franchise announcement, and then 6 months, 7 months, they're on the field. We really didn't want to have that approach. We didn't ever want to feel like we were rushing anything. We wanted to make sure we're making good decisions. We want to make sure the brand was right. So yeah, we're absolutely just burning cash. But we raised enough money to get through these years. Our model really has us, turning a profit in years 2 and 3. But, we raised enough money to get through these years.
How hard was that? Number one. And do you think that your ability to raise money with this long runway and knowing that you probably won't make money for a while is indicative of anything about soccer or anything about startup sports? How do you view that, Sam?
No, I mean, look, I don't think these first couple of years, there's no way around losing money this year or next year, quite frankly, right? There's just not, there's no revenue. We're going to do deposits, and we'll do probably, I don't know, maybe $1 million or more next year with sales and tickets and things like that. But again, we're staffing up, so we'll be in the red again. But I don't think it's indicative of the game necessarily. I think any business, if this were a trucking business and you wanted to, build the business before you went live, you'd lose money.
Yeah, well, I don't mean that part. Again, that's what starting a business takes. I mean your ability to go out and raise capital.
Yeah.
From people who are like, okay, I see what you're doing here, and I'll see my return at some point in the future, 2-3 years down the line, whatever that is.
Yeah, Matt was more involved, quite frankly, in the money raise than I was, but I don't know that he would categorize it as difficult. I think that, our pitch was, pretty sound. Dallas is a large sports market. There was no soccer in downtown. FC Dallas plays 35 miles or more away from downtown. They're not a competitor as I see it. They're going to, do their thing and we're going to do our thing. And I think there's plenty of room for the both of us. So I think anyone making an investment could see that Dallas was a really good spot to be. And I think that, I'm hopeful that the investors have seen the work and our social media and our merchandise and all the things we've done this year, the 87 events, and knows that the money's gone to good use and not just, we're sitting here burning through cash and taking trips everywhere. We're working hard to bring a great club to town. And again, Jason, as you said earlier, not just a club that plays on Saturdays, but we're going to be part of the community. We're going to do things for the community, and all those things takes money. So I think our investor group is great. Everyone kind of fits a piece. You've got a commercial real estate guy, you've got a soccer operations company. And so you look at around of our investment stack and they all kind of fill a hole and we can lean on them for their expertise. And that's really how Matt wanted to build the investment stack, not just, let's just put in a bunch of money of people who want to turn investment, over in 5 years.
Well, Atlético Dallas bringing pro soccer to downtown Dallas, Texas in 2027 and a whole lot more. Obviously, you've listed just a number of great deal of initiatives, community, youth, infrastructure, and much more. So countdown to kickoff to 2027 is going to be an exciting ride and plenty to cover as we strive to get as many firsthand accounts and dive deeper into all these different subjects and projects as we get rolling into the Cotton Bowl in 2027. So Sam Morton, thank you for catching us up and kind of setting the scene for countdown to kickoff with Atlético Dallas.
Let's do it. You guys have a good holiday and I'll see you in the new year.
Thank you, Sam.